The Oklahoma City Thunder have to let Gordon Hayward get comfortable. Plus, is the league figuring out OKC? We'll talk about it all on today's show.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member and beat writer for InsideTheThunder.com, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into Oklahoma City falling to Indiana on Tuesday. It was a bleh game. Gordon Hayward has to continue to feel it out. How can he improve? Lu Dort continues his big week, and have teams figured out a key aspect of what the Thunder do. We'll talk about all of that and more on today's show. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts from, including on YouTube. So in this game, the Thunder were without Jalen Williams for the seventh time this season. He was out with an ankle sprain. He, of course, suffered it on Sunday against Memphis. He left the game twice. The last time he left the game, he stepped on a camera operator on the baseline, who Mark, of course, says was in the perfect spot, right spot, just kind of a thing that happens in the NBA from time to time. I will say, this is just my personal observation. This is not anything that you should take to a greater extent than just an observation. But he was moving well at shoot around. He was moving well in warmups. He was moving well after the game. So the fact that he was listed as questionable to start things out, and the fact that Mark's kind of called it day to day, seems like there's a decent shot that'll play against Dallas. We'll see if that comes true. Though again, that's just a pure observational guess. But in his place, this is where things got interesting. Of course, it's always interesting when you take away your second option. Like, you're going to have to figure out a way to try to combat that. But everyone kind of expected, of course, Cason Wallace to get the start, as the Thunder have done the majority of the time whenever they've needed a swing starter. But instead, the Thunder go to Gordon Hayward. And we're going to talk about Gordon Hayward later in this show, about how he needs to get comfortable and needs to feel things out. But I thought that was interesting to go to Gordon Hayward there. I wonder what Jay Will and Chet minutes would have looked like against this team with Siakam and Turner. And even Cason Wallace, when he switched on to a bigger matchup like Pascal, he was good in those minutes, but you cannot rely on that for a more consistent stretch. So I get favoring Gordon. This is clearly the right time to try something like this. For the Thunder. Mark clearly knows more of what's going on with this team behind the scenes, but it was interesting to see them not go to Jay Will, not go to Kenrich, but instead go right to Gordon Hayward. And I think that you saw, though, the bones and the structure of what this team, specifically with Gordon Hayward in the rotation, can look like as things improve, because all that's left to improve with Gordon Hayward is him getting comfortable. Right now, it feels like Gordon Hayward is afraid to put his feet up. He's afraid to put those big feet on the coffee table. You've invited him over. He's your good pal, but he's asking you to go get some water. Permission to go get a drink. Permission granted on the mothership, you say, if you're cool, to your friend who wants a drink. But eventually, your friend just starts getting his own drink. Your friend comes over, kicks his shoes off, lays on the couch, has a couple cold ones, feels right at home. You're waiting for Gordon Hayward to feel right at home. Because in this game, Gordon Hayward showed you how good he can be. The touch pass redirect out to Lu Dort for a corner three was beautiful. He had a really good driving kick to set up an open Giddey 3. Happened to miss. Won't go down and won't be remembered as a great play, but a really good job by him. He swings the ball really well. He's this connective passer with vision, and he fits that motion style of offense that the Thunder are trying to capture. And I think when he puts those feet on the coffee table, when he gets comfortable, it's going to look really good for the Thunder. It's going to look really, really good for the Thunder. He had a swing pass to Josh Giddey where he makes the extra pass. And to Giddey's credit, he made a layup, but you'd rather have a three-pointer there. You'd rather have Gordon Hayward knock down that three. He went 1 for 2 tonight. And so we take a step back and look at Gordon Hayward's box scores. 3 for 4 overall, 1 for 2 from 3, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal. It looked good. It looked good. But I think that he'll come around to shooting the ball more, being more comfortable, getting his shots, especially staggered in with a second group, throughout the rest of the season and into the playoffs. And why I say that you continue to see this is that, number one, he's picked up the playmaking aspect, that everyone's a playmaker feel to this offense very well. And most importantly, number two, he's got the defense down. He's rotating well. He's plugging off guys very well. That part has looked good since he stepped foot in Oklahoma City. And now he's gotten into understanding more how to position himself offensively and how to swing the ball offensively. The only thing that's left for Gordon Hayward is to shoot the ball more and to score more. As a guy who is a career scorer, as a guy who you should never question if he can put the pumpkin in the patch, who's shooting 8% from 3 this year. If that's all that's left to come back around, if that's all that's left to translate, then you've got to feel really good about where this rotation can head. And you look at Gordon Hayward. Since he's been wearing a Thunder uniform, the key drawback or the key discontentment with his minutes has been the fact he's not shooting enough. For a long time, it was that he wasn't shooting threes. But you're already, even with that quorum, even with that disgruntlement, are you disgruntled? You see defenses hugging on to him, spacing the floor for the Thunder, even in the absence of a shot attempt. But they respect him enough to stay out on him in the corner, and that's enough. That's enough to make life easier on his teammates. Now couple that with more shot attempts. Couple that with, if a guy does plug off you, you're able to drive and kick to Gordon Hayward for 3 in the corner. That's the last missing link to making this everything that you dreamt about at the trade deadline. You go back and listen to this show from the day that the Thunder acquired Gordon Hayward. He has checked every single box except for scoring so far. And that should be a positive sign. You should not take that as a negative, the way that some people are. You should take that as a positive of, if the one thing that Gordon Hayward is missing, I thought about trying to throw his middle name in there. I don't really know his middle name. Gordon Daniel Hayward. I don't know why, but I figured he'd be a Gordon H. Hayward. Gordon Daniel Hayward is going to be able to do, it's going to be able to score. That's what he's going to be able to provide. So the fact that he's given you every other box, he's given you every other Christmas gift, there's one more to open, it's a scoring. I think that that's going to come true as this season continues to unfold. And that's why when you have an opportunity like this, and this is going to sound terrible because it's professional sports, you're supposed to try to win every game. When you have an opportunity like this to get Gordon Hayward 29 minutes and to play him with SGA, to play him with Chet Holmgren, when you have an opportunity like this, you have to take it. You have to take it, let him stretch his legs, and he ends up getting you 9 points, 4 boards, 5 assists, and a steal. He ends up being a +2 in this game. Him and Josh Giddey were a +2 in this game. The only two positive plus minuses of the starting lineup, which again, I don't love plus minus in a single game at all, but just to show, for what it's worth, I think that's only going to continue to grow. And as he gets more comfortable to take his shot and to understand he's not overstepping his bounds by going into the kitchen and getting a bottle of water, as he understands that, this Thunder team will improve, which is a scary thought because they're already really good. And so when you have a chance to do this and you're 45 and now 45 and 20, you not only hit 40 wins before 20, you hit 45 wins before 20 losses. You take advantage of it. It's a calculated risk. You lost by 10 points largely because of other factors, not because of the fact that you started Gordon Hayward. Because if anything, Gordon Hayward was a positive. So it was a risk that I think paid off. Like if you're evaluating this quote unquote risk of changing the starting lineup and putting him in place of Cason, who we all assumed would start, or even in case of Jay Will, who only played 7 minutes and I thought maybe could have played a little bit more. That group worked. That group paid off, and it was a double-edged sword of accomplishments with that group of letting Gordon Hayward play more and get more film and get more understanding of where he fits into this puzzle. And that's why whenever they say down to a T, as if they're Mark Daigneault robots, whenever they say that they're focused on maximizing these last 18, 17 games, I believe them. Because for as good as they've been, they still have areas to really help themselves in the postseason. If you can get Gordon Hayward clicking heading into the postseason, this team is increasingly dangerous. They're already one of the biggest threats in the Western Conference. You get him comfortable, you are the team to beat in the West. So I think it's that important. I think that this was a good decision by the Thunder to let him stretch his legs because it didn't cost you anything. You lost this game, but we're going to dive into why you lost, and it wasn't because you started Gordon Hayward. Coming up, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Cason Wallace. Let's talk about everybody on this team pretty much. But first, we're going to talk about our good friends over at eBay Motors. eBay Motors is great. Check them out today because they have what you want. Passion, drive, patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from, your number one ride or die, you're always going to find exactly what you need, what you're looking for with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit. It's your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time, the first time your money back. Go there right now because eBay Motors will have you burning rubber, not cash. Right now, with all the parts to choose from, the prices that you want, you can turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win by keeping your ride or die alive at eBay Motors. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. We're back on a Locked On Thunder podcast, on a Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. What a blah game this was. The crowd wasn't very into it. No offense to anyone that was there. The crowd wasn't very into it. They got into it a little bit in the third quarter. By and large, one of the poor end crowds of the year. A little surprising because this was a very fun Indiana team that came to town, but of course, no J-Dub and those factors. But only 4 lead changes, 2 ties. The Thunder got down 16 points. They never got more than a 1-point lead in this game. The Thunder shot 43, 37, 73. Indiana shot 54, 32, 84. And it felt like this game was played in the upside down. Like, what have we harped on about a Mark Daigneault coach team since he took over? The Thunder are going to dominate fast break, and they've been dominating fast point. They've been dominating fast breaks. They've been dominating points in the paint this year. And this go around, here's what happened: The Thunder won the rebounding battle, 50-43, usually not the case. They lost the turnover battle, 12-9, usually not the case. And they were absolutely obliterated in fast break points, 23-3, and obliterated in points in the paint, 72-52. This was not a Thunder game at all because they also won second chance points. The Thunder won second chance points, 17-8. The Thunder won rebounding, won second chance points, and lost the turnover battle. That is just something that has not been a combination for them this year, and it ended up being a combination that was a losing formula against Indiana. Indiana played their style of play. The Thunder could not string stops together enough. And you got to give credit to Indiana. The Pacers played their best defense all season long. This was their best defensive performance of the year in Oklahoma City. It was a combination of a couple things. I mean, number one, credit to the Pacers, they were hitting shots. So in the midst of a few defensive lapses and a few touch-ups in the paint that the Pacers got that they probably shouldn't have, that was controllable by the Thunder. The Pacers also made some very tough shots that the Thunder defended well, and they just went in. So credit to the Pacers on that front. And what I think was the story of the game, and I know that sometimes I can oversimplify things down to one thing, but at halftime, the Thunder were down 12, tweeted out something that I think is very obvious that, the Thunder are down 12, but they lead the NBA in comebacks of double-digit points or more, double-digit points. They lead the NBA in comebacks. This Pacers team can't play defense. This Thunder team is known to dig in defensively in the second half. You dig in defensively and you score against the worst defense in the NBA, who cannot defend to save their life, you win the game. And the Thunder go on this run in the third quarter, and it makes that tweet look like a genius tweet, like I'm splitting the atom. But Indiana instead decides to buck the trend and play their best basketball defensively. You've just got to give credit where it's due. Of Indiana had an anomaly game where they typically don't handle those runs very well. They typically don't, and they did tonight. Again, the Thunder could have played much better defense, the entire night. Their offense at times sputtered a little bit without their second option, which is very normal. You need your second option. You take away the second best scorer on almost any team in the NBA, you're going to see a drop-off. But Indiana also played really well. And Indiana played their style of basketball. And so, 12 turnovers is not something just insane, but it's also more than what the Thunder typically have. The Pacers dominating second chance points, fast break points and points in the paint was just topsy-turvy. And the rebounding battle didn't matter. The Thunder won it, but it didn't matter because the Pacers played their way of basketball. You got a taste of what you should be enjoying as Thunder fans. If you're a Thunder fan listening to this, you should be enjoying the fact that the Thunder lose these rebounding battles because it creates all this, fast break, all this up-tempo, and all this success offensively, which it has for the Thunder to the tune of 45 wins against 20 losses. This snaps a 9-game home winning streak. I believe their 7th loss at home this year. Still a fantastic season, a fantastic team. And I think that there was, for the context of missing J-Dub, more good than bad. Because it was an uncharacteristic night on all fronts. SGA starts slow, going 4 for 12, I believe, to start this game. He was out of sorts a little bit, and as he said, just off. He didn't credit it to anything particular that Indiana did. He just said that he personally was off. And you kind of got to agree with him. Go back if you want to today. On an off day for the Thunder, and you might be missing some Thunder basketball. Go back onto the NBA.com box score and watch Shai's field goal attempts. You watch his field goal attempts, you're going to see that he was making these $1 million moves with a 1-cent finish. He had his defenders on skates like a Sonic car hop and just missed. And he just missed his way into 30 points. into 30 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block because he's that good. But it was still an uncharacteristic night from him. He had 4 turnovers, incredibly rare. This is just his 10th game with 4 or more turnovers. He only shot 44% from the floor. But on that last layup, almost at the buzzer, he did get 30 points and break the all-time Thunder scoring record for 30-point games in a single season. With 17 left to play, he can really make that record untouchable almost if he continues the trend that we've seen from him so far this season. I want to talk Lu Dort too. Lu Dort, 18 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 50% from the floor, 3 for 6 from 3. Big in the third quarter. Like a big part of why the Thunder made this run in the third was because of him. He had otherworldly, just outstanding defense, fighting through 4 Siakam screens to stay on Halliburton and forced an elbow jumper miss. He had this great dump off, no-look pass to Cason. Came down, hit a timely 3, much needed 3 on the relocation, open corner 3 for a tie, which really brought the crowd to life for the first and really only time of this game. He played exceptionally well in this game, in the totality of the game. But he had 2 bad plays. And I don't want those 2 bad plays to go against the great game that he played today and the great games he's been stacking up this week and the great season that he's had. Yes, it was a bad drive. He should have swung it to Wiggins for 3 open, top of the key. Should have done that, obviously. And yeah, maybe he pulled the 3 a little bit too soon, early in the shot clock, contested 3. But he was one of your best players. Find me a player on the Thunder tonight that didn't have 2 bad plays or more. Like, he was awesome, as well as reckless, controlled recklessness, controlled chaos. He was throwing his body into screens, throwing his body into the glass. I thought that he made up a big difference on the rebounding numbers, despite only being credited for 2 rebounds. Go back and look how often he's just ping-ponging himself around Pacer bodies. And it ends up helping the Thunder secure a board, even though he gets no true credit for it. Like, Dort was really good. Don't let those plays, and of course, maybe you have a little bit of a flashback to last year and years prior, but don't let that shade how good he was tonight, how good he's been this season. Coming up, let's talk Josh Giddey, let's talk Cason Wallace, let's talk Chet Holmgren, and let's talk this game overall before heading to an off-day pod. But first, I want to tell you right now, my good friends over at BetterHelp. BetterHelp is great. Go there right now because, what I think is important about BetterHelp, first and foremost, is that if you believe that you can, benefit from therapy, but what's been holding you back has been what holds a lot of us back, including me, of just, I'm too busy. Family commitments, personal commitments, social commitments, relationship commitments, work commitments, whatever it is. And I just cannot get to a therapist, get to an office and kind of go there, right? BetterHelp is the place for you. It's entirely online. It's entirely suited around your schedule. And sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to fester with you, and it's important to let them out, especially if it's to someone like a BetterHelp therapist who's licensed and a therapist who's kind of unbiased in your life that can really help you through some things. So make sure you check them out today, because the great part about BetterHelp is that it's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suitable around your schedule. Go there right now to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA, betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off of your first month at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Subscribe for free across all podcasting platforms so you never miss an episode. Let's talk Josh Giddey. Starts this game out with a little show and go, a hook shot over Pascal Siakam. Hit a timely 3 to stop the bleeding whenever OKC needed a bucket. I really like the fact he's been lowering his shoulder more on these drives to the rim, being more aggressive toward the rack. That's been good for him. It's helped him get into a groove this last week, and he's continued to build on that so far. He continues to be very active in using his body better on the glass. Got him a putback in this game in the fourth quarter to start things out and help deliver a first punch to Indiana out of the gate. Fantastic feed on a bounce, splitting the defense to Gordon Hayward, cutting baseline. He attacked hard off of a closeout, got a layup out of it, put OKC down just 6. But the two big things from Josh Giddey is, number one, he switched really well. He sat down on the baseline well. He's understanding more his, what I think is his ideal responsibilities, more of taking a low man, letting somebody more athletic than Josh Giddey spray out to the slot, spray out to the top of the key and get out further, and you just take the closest guy to you and sit down. He did that a lot in this game. Really good by him. He's played a fantastic stretch of basketball this week. A +2 in this game, 15 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, and only 1 turnover. But what I wonder about teams figuring out OKC, what was this all about? It was about something that you might not have seen at all. It was about something that might have been invisible to you in this game. But in the second half, the Thunder had a baseline out of bounds play underneath the basket, of course. And Pascal Siakam is defending the inbounder, who, of course, is Josh Giddey. But is he playing Josh Giddey straight up? Is he playing in front of Josh Giddey? No. He's playing to the side of Josh Giddey. Now, what could he be protecting against on the side of Josh Giddey? I'll tell you, it's that long bounce pass to the corner of Lu Dort, who's typically open, who typically hits that. Something that I think, based on just the positioning of Siakam, you have to assume the Pacers saw over and over and over again on film. Siakam recognizes it. Siakam goes, shades that way, and tries to take it away. So I wonder, what will this lead to in the sense of, are more teams going to start respecting that? More teams going to start doing that? What's the counter off of that for Mark to draw up a play that looks similar in the setup of the shell and then gives you another punch out of it instead of a Lu Dort corner 3? This play ends up just kind of lofting it over to Chet to start the action around the elbow high post area. So just something to watch. I think that they figured out that play. I mean, there's been some bread and butter plays from Mark. They have the one where they have SGA and they've put Wiggins there at once as well. Coming down with a couple screens out of the nail to the rim. This Lu Dort bounce pass from a baseline out of bounds play, which I've asked Josh about, which is a wacky way to initiate a baseline out of bounds play, but it works. Siakam was really prepared for that, really gearing up for that. Cason Wallace was really good in this game. Blocked Aaron Nesmith. He continues to be really good blocking jump shots. He forced a couple just bad Halliburton misses on the perimeter. He's been elite playing off screens. The details that Cason Wallace plays with defensively has to get you amped for how good he can be. Playing the hedge and then playing even and high with the screen against Halliburton allowed the Thunder to force Halliburton to deal with Cason Wallace. They dictated the terms of the screen and not let Halliburton go exploit a better matchup. And then Cason Wallace just has that it factor of being in the right place at the right time and being prepared. You've got to have that whole combination. You're not only got to be in the right place, not only at the right time, but you must be prepared. And one of these plays that signify that is that Josh Giddey saves a ball underneath the basket that somehow is saved in a crowd, like a face in the crowd, then pops out to the top of the key. And who's standing there? Cason Wallace. But who's not just standing there, who sees this unfold, sees the improbability of a ball getting saved underneath the basket all the way to the top of the key 3, and is ready to just catch the ball, group the ball and shoot top of the key, splash it home, open 3. None other than Cason Wallace. Then he hits a huge contested 3 to put OKC down just 1, and he made some big shots in this one. 11 points off the bench again, 3 rebounds, 1 block, 3 turnovers, and it did include a very forced bad pass in traffic to a baseline cutter that he should not have thrown. Obviously, there's going to be some rookie blips here and there, but in the overall scheme of things, Cason's been really great this rookie season. You can go back and listen to yesterday's show if you missed it, and yesterday's show was about Cason Wallace and how good he is. If you missed that show, go listen to it. 3 for 4 from 3, 57% from the floor for Cason Wallace. Another Chet Holmgren, 15 and 13. Just what a night from him. 15 points, 13 boards, 3 assists. We're going to talk about one play from Chet Holmgren. The one play being he goes and annihilates a shot at the rim. Just swallows it whole on the side of the rim. Then sprints the floor, runs the floor exceptionally hard, and goes from blocking a shot to cleaning up a shot on the other end with a putback of a missed Cason layup. His ability to run the floor hard and help the Thunder create advantages continues to play into how much of a unicorn that he is, because he can do everything at a high level for OKC. Also, a really good pod from him, interview with him that I wrote about on InsideTheThunder.com, and you can listen to on the Woj pod. But a really good interview from him, talked about a lot of good stuff, including the fact that like the Thunder did come to him and say, hey, maybe you should rest during this stretch. And I have to only presume that it was a stretch, in January. And they talked about it, and he ends up not resting because he wants to play. And so far has played every single game this year for the Thunder. And that streak seems to be going to continue, of course, because it didn't seem like anything happened today moving forward. So really good stuff from him. And overall, like I mentioned, missing J-Dub and fighting through some things in this game. It was fine stuff from OKC, but they've got to go against Dallas. Nationally televised game, late tip-off, potential playoff opponent. Do you have J-Dub back? Do you not? We'll talk about that game, plus a mailbag podcast on tomorrow's show. So drop your questions down below on YouTube, also on Twitter at Rylan_Styles, and we'll answer your questions and get it done heading into that Mavericks game on Thursday. Until then, be good and be good to one